And the Kenyan doctor has filed a petition in court seeking to stop the government from licensing Cuban doctors to practice in local clinics, arguing that the foreign medics were single-sourced to the disadvantage of local counterparts. Samson Misango says in the court papers that there has been no evidence that Kenya has a shortage of doctors to fill any vacancies in the public health system. The health ministry has previously said that a shortage of up to 42,800 health workers stands to affect Kenya's journey to realizing universal health care. The Cuban doctors are now expected into the country next week, Thursday, as the government seeks to bridge the deficit gap and also to aid in skill and service delivery. Dr. Mercy Kariuki now joins us by way of phone. She has been following this particular matter in court. Dr. Mercy, we understand that there's a new development. What has Justice Chacha Mwita said about this particular matter?
Okay, yes, Betty. Justice Chacha Mwita has ruled that the High Court, his court, has no jurisdiction over this matter and has referred it to the Employment and Labor Relations Court, which is supposed to hear this because of the prayers by the petitioner, which involves recruitment and employment of the Cuban doctors. So he's referred the matter to the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and that's where we'll be heading to, and we think that the matter can be heard at 12 noon this morning. So it's something that we'll keep tabs on it as it develops.
All right, and maybe you can just talk to us about the sentiments of the doctors. I'm sure there are a number of doctors who, had accompanied Misango to file his petition today. What are they saying about this situation?
Actually, this was a mention. Not many doctors came to the court because it was a mention. But from the sentiments that we know from many of the doctors, their main concern is that the government went ahead to source for foreign medical specialists, while here locally there are doctors with the same qualifications or the same specializations that are not employed by government. And so they sought affidavits from these doctors who are jobless, and that's forming part of what the court case is all about. The other thing is that they're saying is that there's no evidence that the government tried to recruit these doctors in all the 47 counties or even in the national government prior to going to look for the foreign doctors. And this is in the PSC HR manual of 2016, where government or public entities are supposed to, first of all, look for local expertise, and upon not finding any, they can go and source for them outside. So those are the two issues that the doctors are really raising, and it's what Dr. Misango has petitioned the court to listen. And the respondents is the Cabinet Secretary for Health, the Council of Governors, the Director of Immigration, and definitely the Attorney General.
All right, Mercy, let's also just talk about the timelines. Now, the Cuban doctors are set to arrive in the country next week on Thursday. And of course, we have this particular case. So do we know if the plans to have the doctors, could be affected by this particular court process that has now been initiated?
Definitely it could, because one of the prayers is to seek stay orders that this matter until it's heard that the Cuban doctors should not come into the country. And from reliable sources, we learned that their logisticians or their coordinator came into the country yesterday just to assess the situation and see if at all the other Cuban doctors could come. And that could explain why the arrival has been postponed. And we learned that the first batch is supposed to arrive on the 5th, and the second batch is supposed to arrive on the 7th, though the CS in one of her tweets said that they arrive on 7th, and this was because of the 1 week delay or signing of the MOU between the national government and the county governments. But what we are seeing and what is likely to happen from this court case is that if the stay orders are granted, then definitely the government will put the Cuban doctors on hold until the matter is resolved by the courts. Betty.
All right, let's also just talk about one of the issues that the CS, Sicily Kariuki, has raised. And, she says that, the reason why, one of the reasons that, they're having these Cuban doctors come is because the Kenyan doctors who are available for employment normally don't like to go to the grassroots levels. What can you tell us about that? First of all, being a doctor and also having interacted with some of the doctors who are currently without jobs.
Betty, just come again with that question. Sorry, I didn't get it quite well. Just
right.
come again.
Right, Mercy. What I'm asking is, of course, one of the reasons that Sicily Kariuki has given, for the reason why these Cuban doctors are coming to the country, just one of the reasons, there are quite a number of them, is that, Kenyan doctors who are currently unemployed do not like to go to mashinani level, to the grassroots level, to the rural areas. But, having been a doctor and, of course, interacted with a number of them, can you confirm really if this is true and what are the doctors saying about this?
Well, the doctors' reasons for not really being motivated to work in those far-flung areas are amongst many. They're saying they're not given proper incentives to work in those regions. And one of the reasons that the doctors have always been raising is concerning security, housing, and just transport just to work around those areas. And they're saying these are the same things that the Cuban doctors are getting, which they have been asking for. And if they had been provided with the same, then it would make their working conditions in those areas much easier. So for the doctors, they are raising the same argument that if they are provided with the same incentives that the Cuban doctors are getting, then for them, they will be able to work without difficulty in those areas. So it's this incentivization that the doctors are saying had been lacking and is being granted to the Cuban doctors. So they're seeing this as a form of discrimination against them. Betty.
Speak to somebody there. Who is that person?
This is Professor Kiama Wangai. He is representing Dr. Samson Misango, who is
the petitioner, really, and as some of the four respondents on this case, and he is one of the doctors who is sort of representing all the other doctors, all the other specialists who are disgruntled in this matter. And we'll just hear from Professor Kiama what this case is all about and what he's really seeking. We'll get to hear from it. We had said it in brief, but we'll get to hear from Professor Kiama what exactly he's seeking from this petition.
Mercy, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak about the Cuban doctors. The instructions I have from my clients are as follows. The issue of health is devolved. It being devolved means that all counties are the same, in which case the issue of periphery and flung areas and marginalized does not arise because the counties are the same level. So that to say that doctors are refusing to work in marginalized area, it is incorrect because they are no longer marginalized areas. Wajir County is at the same level as Busia County. So there is no marginalization now that health is at the lower level. Having said that, the main issue that my client has is the kind of discrimination that is being visited to the local doctors as opposed to the Cuban doctors. And the case is also not just about Cuban doctors, it's about foreigners coming to work in this jurisdiction. The main issue that also sticks out is this. There are doctors who are not employed. As you go out to source for doctors in another country, we have doctors who can take up those jobs. The Constitution protects the rights of Kenyans to have a job and protects the Kenyan doctors. That really is the philosophy of this case, that the Kenyan doctors require to be given that opportunity. And why do we say this? There were no advertisement for these 100 positions. So that if you advertise these positions and you lack local doctors, then using the Immigration Act, you can then source for doctors outside. But that advertisement, I have not seen it. The second thing is this. The kind of remuneration these Cuban doctors are getting is 5 times more than the local doctors. If you say you're paying them 800,000 shillings, our highly paid specialists, 150,000. And these are doctors we have trained. What is so special about these foreigners getting 5 times the money of our local doctors? The third thing is this, apart from the remuneration, the condition of working for the Cubans is far better than the Kenyans. I have seen in circulation some memo saying that counties are putting aside $500,000 to prepare housing for these Cuban doctors. Our doctors do not get that when they report to those counties. So in fact, on the bare minimum, we are saying if the government has realized that doctors require these 500,000, they should give to all local doctors. The discrimination is when you treat some people differently from others. So our main prayer is that we need the process stopped so that the local doctors can get these jobs. And if there are still jobs that are left, then they can be given to the foreigners. Now, about today's mention, the mention before Judge Chacha was for directions, because the application is seeking certain orders to stop this process. And the Attorney General, instead of filing documents relating to this case, has filed a preliminary objection. Not on the merit of the case, but this court has no power to listen to this case. And the idea, of course, one would see was to delay the matter. But then the judge and ourselves, for the petitioners, seeing that they want to delay the matter, we've compromised that notice of no objection by saying let's transfer the matter anyway. Instead of wasting time here, let's go to the Labour Court. There's also a judge at the Labour Court. So that is where we'll be proceeding with the hope that we'll be heard today before 12. So nothing has happened in this court because the court doesn't seem interested, not quite interested, in good wisdom, to waste time determining an issue of jurisdiction rather than go to the merit of the case. So we would have spent time here, argue the application, and then wait for a ruling. That definitely will mean that the Cubans will come before our application is heard. So the better way is to deal with that issue of jurisdiction very fast, which we have. So we are going to the court that the Attorney General thinks has jurisdiction. We hear what they are going to say. Although the learned judge has said, in case that court says there's no jurisdiction, then we come and proceed before him. So today, really, nothing much has happened, but we are still pursuing the issue of interim orders to stop those Cubans taking jobs from Kenyans.
Now, I want to ask you about the remuneration. The Cabinet Secretary for Health says that the Cuban doctors will be remunerated from Job Group S. Looking at the doctors' CBA, this is an average of 450,000 as opposed to the 800,000 that we have, or the media has had reports on this. So where is this 800,000 figure coming from? Yet Job Group S, and comparing it to the doctors' CBA, is an average of about 450,000 Kenya shillings.
As a lawyer, I don't want to delve into how those figures are being arrived at. We are in court. What the Cabinet Secretary is saying is over. She should bring those documents to court. The way about dealing with rumors, or my view is 450, my view is 350, my view is 100,000, let's have that document in court. And what they need to file in their replies are all these contracts called MOUs, terms of remuneration, terms of condition, so that rumors come to an end. So for me as a lawyer, I will not delve into the issues of 850, 900. I will wait for those documents. And that is what they are delaying to give us by filing these POs. What I would have expected them to do is say, here is the MOU, here are the terms, we are above board. This is what these guys are coming to do. But that's not what they wish to do. And we have been denied of documents. And without those documents, then all these rumors will go on. But as a lawyer, I don't participate in rumors. What I wish to get are the real contracts, the MOU, and those terms. But I have seen those letters I'm speaking of preparation of the accommodation, housing, I think from Busia. That I have seen. And I don't think Busia County has come out to deny that it is their document. So that particular I have seen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. That's Professor Kiama Wangai, who's representing Dr. Robert Misango, who's filed a petition seeking to stop the coming in of the foreign Cuban doctors to Kenya. And that's where we wrap up. We'll go to the Employment and Labour Relations Court for the hearing of the application at 12 noon, and we'll keep you updated as this story develops. Back to you in studio, Betty.
All right, Dr. Mercy, thank you for that. And it's a story, like Mercy mentioned, we'll be focusing on here. As the day goes by, remember that we're expecting there's going to be that mention in court at midday today. And we'll be, of course, covering that for you here on KTN News. All right, so that's where I say goodbye. Unfortunately, it's been a great 2 hours. I hope you are well informed and that you enjoyed the show. My name is Betty Kialo. Keep it here. My colleague Lofty Matambo is coming in shortly to continue with our coverage in Kiswahili. shortly on Leo Mashinani. Till then, keep it KTN News. Be kind to one another. Be blessed. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.